Newcastle in hot pursuit of, listen, the brace hero, Wolves' hero last night, Larsen in the Carabao Cup. The new bid for Alexander Isak is seen as imminent after he refuses to change his mind when the owners of the club visited his home on Monday evening, or Monday morning, I should say. We're taking a look at Manchester United with Lammens expected to join Garnacho's exit advance, but could Tottenham be about to perform a hijack of their own against Chelsea Football Club? We're talking that. We're going to talk some more as well about some of the wider issues surrounding these clubs. Plus, what is ever on your agenda? We're going to react to your comments, your super chats, your member chats as well. But make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure you are all subscribing. Very, very important to the channel. But that bell notification button, even more key. This is the Done Deal Show. Let's do it. Morning and welcome back to the show, everybody. I hope you're well. I hope you're good. Let me know where you are watching from and streaming from today. It's always nice to know where people are at. Good morning, Terry. Newcastle journalists are lying again. Listen, I'm at a point with the Newcastle journalists where I don't even understand what their agenda is anymore. I was called out last night on my personal channel for talking about the story of Newcastle's owners visiting Isak. Like, that ain't true. It ain't true. It didn't happen. Well, I think it absolutely, fundamentally did, if I'm being absolutely blunt with you. But listen, we're going to be delving into all those stories this morning, taking your calls later in the show as well. Watching from Gambia. Big up Gambia. Big up Belfast in the house. I'm loving that. From United Stand, thank you very much for coming across. I appreciate it immensely. I appreciate it immensely, my friend. I really, really do. We have Golf Supercars watching from Qatar. I've been to Qatar. Loved it. Great place. Great place. Hospitable, clean, no crime. Loved it. And a lot of myths broken as well. I was there during Christmas because the World Cup was on. And every supermarket I went into was selling Christmas trees and Christmas decorations and Christmas cards. And there was me listening to the mainstream media in England for 10 years that if you celebrated Christmas in that part of the world, you got arrested. Now, I'm being a little bit, I'm exaggerating a little bit. But yeah, beautiful place. Loved it. Loved it. Butch is watching from Nottingham. Big up the UK in the house. A few people watching from the United Kingdom as well. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. North London, Giza. Nice. Switzerland's another great place. Expensive though. But I used to go to a tournament every year in Geneva, kickboxing tournament every year in Geneva for a long. I thought I had the trophy in here. I don't. The trophy's somewhere out there. Maybe I can find it another time for you. I did well in that tournament. Very good. And I loved it. What was that tournament called? I've got to find out now. Kickboxing tournament in Geneva. It might not even go on anymore. Oh, it was an amazing tournament. Anyway, we'll come back to that another time. I digress. Big up to everyone who's tuning in, whatever part of the world you are from. I want to jump into the first big story of the day. And I woke up this morning and it's the irony in this. The irony is so beautiful. And I don't want to sound like I'm teaching anyone to suck eggs here. And your country may be the same. But in the UK, irony is such an important part of our humor. I know the Irish are the same. I know the Scots are the same and the Welsh are the same. And I'm sure there'll be other people who go, oh, we love irony too. I love irony. The big breaking news this morning, and I'm going to go to this for you right now. Let me just scroll down on my screen to get the story because I want to make sure I read it correctly. Craig Hope has said that Newcastle's bid of 55 million for Larsen has been rejected by Wolves. It remains likely that the club will return with another offer. It has now been reported on top of that, by David Ornstein. I'm going to read this to you here because that's the one I didn't bookmark because I was stupid. That Larsen is not agitating to leave Wolves, but he's keen on making the move. £55 million turned down. Still, they still intend to keep the Norwegian international. Now, what has also been reported is that Newcastle are likely to bid again, even though they've been told on 2 or 3 occasions now that the player is fundamentally not for sale. But they're bidding again, and they're bidding again, and they're bidding again. And by the way, a lot of you are laughing. I actually think he's a really good striker. I think he's a very good striker that in a better team and in a better setup, you are going to see amazing numbers. I think you're going to see amazing numbers from him. I really, really do. So I wouldn't look at this necessarily as a rival fan and go, oh my God, they're downgrading massively. Said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. I think if you take Wissa, I think if you take Larsen and combine them as a pairing, I think you're going to get more out of them as a collective than you did Callum Wilson and Isak, because Callum Wilson was a bit of a crock. If we go back and actually look at his kind of numbers, yes, 3 seasons ago he scored 18 goals, but last season could barely kick a ball, got 1 goal. Season before that, got 10 goals. So if you actually look at Isak, just look over the last couple of seasons, right? And you've got to look at the situation that the player kind of leaves you in more than anything else. If we look at Larsen, like 14 goals last year in the league for a team that wasn't particularly great. If you look at Alexander Isak as an example last year, and look at his campaign last season. Let me just get it up in front of me. This is all comps. 27 goals, yes. So it was 28 goals between him and Callum Wilson. Between Wissa got how many did Wissa get? Wissa got 20, right? So we've got 28 goals. Let's go and get Wissa's number here because I think it's really important to understand this. And then we're going to get into the Isak part of this conversation. But Wissa last year, 20 goals. So 20 goals from Wissa, 14. That's 34 goals they're buying, where they had 28 last year, but that was heavily weighted in one direction. I really don't believe this is as bad a deal as some people are trying to make it out to be. I actually think it's a very, very sensible and strong piece of business from them. But they've bid, and the irony in this is very simple, though. They're bidding for a player that a club doesn't want to sell. There is a difference, and the player isn't agitating for a move. Maybe it's because it's very late in the window. Maybe it's because he's only just joined. But there is a belief out there when you read the reports and you read the stories in their entirety that a slightly increased bid that goes beyond 60 to 65 million, including add-ons, may be enough to tempt Wolverhampton Wanderers into doing this deal. Now, on top of that, you have all the news that has come out in relation to Alexander Isak, because all of this feeds into Isak. And by the way, this Larsen deal is not instead of Wissa. It is still widely reported that Newcastle will go back in for Wissa again between now, which is Wednesday the 27th, and close of business, that's close of the transfer business, on Monday the 1st of September. But Lee Ryder, who is another respected Newcastle writer, so this story hasn't come from Fabrizio in a brown envelope, hasn't come from Ben Jacobs in a brown envelope, hasn't come from the lying swine Ornstein, and I'm talking about the way that some Newcastle fans discuss those two individuals. This is coming from Lee Ryder, who has said that Alexander Isak remains firm in his desire to join Liverpool, despite attempts from Newcastle's hierarchy, who came to his home yesterday. This was produced on Tuesday, came to his home on the Monday to ask him to stay. The people that arrived, there was the chairman of PIF and Jamie Rubin, who is they're the co-owners of Newcastle, directly came to his home. This wasn't a Zoom meeting. This wasn't, they bumped into him in the corridor of the training ground. They went to his house and they asked him to reconsider. They tried to convince him to stay. They tried to convince him to change his mind and reintegrate. And what Alexander Isak told them is, no, I want to go, find me a solution. Now, it remains to be seen. I mean, this comes, by the way, 24 hours, so now 48 hours ago, after the Newcastle press all said Newcastle have got a new, strong and stern stance, and that is that they will not allow him to leave. I didn't believe it when I heard it, as in it's a categoric no. They said it was a categoric no, he will stay, yet they go into his house to try and change his mind. That makes almost no sense to me whatsoever. The same press that said that, they were also reporting on Monday evening when the owners were at the ground saying they're here. They're going to be having meetings so they can make a definitive decision on what they're doing. And I'm sitting there listening to, I think it was Keith say that. And I'm like, hang on, Keith, you said this morning that they've already made a definitive decision. The misinformation into Newcastle fans, I think, has been an absolute shambles. It was also reported, and I'll go into this as well, yesterday by Alex Crook, that Liverpool are expected to make another bid between now and Monday. This is what he said here. He goes, I think they're going to test Newcastle's resolve, and we know Newcastle are firing darts in terms of trying to bring strikers into the club. They are still keen to sign Wissa, and they had a bid obviously rejected for Larsen, but sources up in the Midlands at Mainoo expect a follow-up offer. And I think this is, for me, the most fundamentally important part of this is the Isak deal. I think has been close for ages, and not close from a time perspective. And I spoke about this yesterday. A deal can be close or imminent. A deal can be imminent, where it's going to happen any second now, or a deal can be close, where the vast majority of the components for the deal are done, debated, discussed, negotiated, agreed to, but it might just take one final piece so that it can all get over the line, but it's still close. And the example I would give you is if you were building a house. You built the foundations, you put up the walls, you put in the insulation, you've built the joist for the roof, you put the windows in, you've tiled the roof. Leave the windows out for a minute. You've tiled the roof, you've done all of that, but you've run out of money. Everything's done, but you don't have enough money for the windows. You've done all the plumbing, you've done all the copper plumbing, you've done the waste pipe, everything's done, right? But you just don't have the money to put in the double glazed windows yet because you've run out of money. It's the last bit. Once that's done, the build of the house is complete. That to me means the house is close to completion because you've done 95% of it. But it might take you 6 months to raise more money. Maybe it's the fact you've got to go away and work and you've got to raise 20, 30 grand and it's going to take you some months to do. Doesn't mean it's not close. That is a little different from it being imminent, in my opinion. So I do believe this Alexander Isak deal has been close for a while. The player has agreed to personal terms. Liverpool have put bids in. I don't think in reality Liverpool and Newcastle are as far away from an agreement as has been publicly pushed. I think this is more about, and I believe this for a good number of weeks now, that this is more about the salary. Sorry, salary. I read someone write the word salary in the comments. This is more about the finding of a replacement. And had Newcastle had a better summer, and I did hear them say this, by the way, they were brilliant on Monday night, Newcastle, and I think they deserve something from the game. But I was listening to the commentators talk about how they had a fantastic summer, and I just sat there and thought to myself, the gaslighting that no wonder Newcastle fans are so angry at the moment, because everyone just keeps telling them mistruths, maybe not lies, but I wouldn't say it's, they bought some decent players. But to look at it and go, it's been a fantastic. I think the commentator said, once they get that striker in, you can look at Newcastle's summer as absolutely fantastic. And I thought to myself, I don't think any Newcastle fan with a brain would consider this summer fantastic in any capacity. And maybe that's because, but they get told that by people in the mainstream, and then some go, yeah, it's fantastic, and then they'll hear a YouTuber or another journalist say different, and they lose their minds. There's no balance out there. It's crazy. I mean, they've signed some really good players. I think Anthony Elanga's could be a star for them this year. I really, really do. And I do think if the Wissers and the Larsens go in, it'd be a really strong unit. But it isn't good that they're coming in the last week. The same as Man United getting a new goalkeeper in the last week isn't good enough. Man United getting rid of our players in the last week isn't good enough. Even if we get a new midfielder that improves us, it isn't good enough that they've missed pre-season and that they've missed the first 2 or 3 games where we've dropped points. So I use the same logic with my own clubs. But from my point of view and perspective, look, the Isak element is close. I just think Liverpool are going to wait, and they're going to wait for one thing and one thing only. They're going to wait for a bid for a Larsen or a Wissa to be accepted over the next day or two. If we get to Friday and they still haven't moved forward, I think then Liverpool will make that bid. I think Liverpool will leave it till Friday for Newcastle to have a bid agreed with a player. If they don't, then I think they're going to test the resolve. The only way Newcastle keep Alexander Isak is if they fail to sign the replacements. That's it for me. If they get the replacements in, they will sell the player. That's my view. That's just an opinion, by the way. Could be wrong, could be right. But let me know in the comment section below what you think and what you feel. Calvert-Lewin was... oh, listen, I never... one of the worst debuts I've ever seen in my life. The goalkeeper, I mean, he literally missed 3 sitters in the last 5 minutes of the game and then ballooned a penalty. I did feel a little sorry for him, if I'm being honest with you. I've never seen anything as horrendous in my life of a performance. The audacity of his agents to offer him to Man United is crazy. Hit the like button, by the way. Yeah, thank you very much. If you haven't done so yet, please get that like button hit for us. Please get this stream shared across your social media platforms as well. To do some more of your comments here. Good morning to you as well, Ryan Arsenal. Hope you are well. Let's have a little look. Ruining a player's career because you're salty. He wants to leave the club. He's looking to achieve something more in his life. And at his age, he doesn't have long left. Newcastle fans are being ugly. Look, I don't even look at it. I don't even look at it that way, personally. I don't even... I think Newcastle are in their rights to do what they're doing. I think Isak's in his rights to do what he is doing. It's the nature of the beast. There's clauses in the contract. If you refuse to train and play, you don't get paid. You ain't getting paid. So I mean, he is breaking terms, but it's covered by a clause in there anyway. I mean, no one's breaking the law here. Do you know what I'm saying? No one's breaking the law here, which some people have tried to twist it into like the law's being broken. I find it very, very weird. This here from Delroy says, I'm really torn on this. Part of me thinks Newcastle should just accept and get rid, and the other side of me doesn't want him to sell. It makes sense, and he trains with the reserves for 6 months. Equally, though, look, if they either decision, you'll have a group of different people that think that those behaviors are abhorrent and wrong and immoral and unethical. I don't think it comes down to that. I mean, I don't feel sorry for Alexander Isak or the football club. These are multi-millionaire players. Yeah, this isn't like you and I. This isn't like a working class person who lives paycheck to paycheck by and large, where, you know, we're gonna not be able to trade or move forward. Because again, there are competition clauses in what I do. So when I was exiting from my previous partners, there was a competition clause where I couldn't. So if I left, essentially, if I just left and said, you know what, I don't want to be in this agreement anymore, I want to leave, I'm just going to start my own new YouTube channel, there was a competition clause where I couldn't do that for 12 months. Now, I spoke to a lawyer about this because things got, by the way, Snack Media now, the company that we ended up putting a consortium together and buying Snack Media back, and then I got my business back. So Snack Media are a great company. The people that own Snack Media were they weren't horrible. They were just ruthless business people. And they bought Snack Media after I did my deal with Snack Media. And that's where I learned some lessons in life, because there were some things that weren't in writing that were promised to me that the previous guys were doing that these individuals pulled away, which is why maybe I'm more sensitive to this type of thing. But I spoke to a few lawyers about this, and they said, look, yeah, this is where, again, even this is when people go, you've got to get a contract, but even contracts don't mean anything, because 2 different lawyers gave me this advice, and a friend of mine who's a lawyer gave me this advice, that due to my age and my wealth, which is not a lot, I'm not sitting there with 10 million pound in the bank. I have to earn money every month or I'm in trouble, right? I'm a normal person. They basically said, although there's a competition clause that says you can't make content for a year if you just leave, although I'd be forfeiting all my shares in the business to them, they said it's almost impossible to enforce that in a court of law because they're not allowed to stop you making a living. So you can even have things that are contracted. In the end, we came to a happy medium and an agreement. But part of that is why I didn't. So a few people said to me, why have you only now just started Terry Flewis TV? I wasn't allowed to. I signed a new agreement which said I wouldn't do it for 9 months after the exit had completed, because it was just one of their little conditions and I just agreed to it. That's why I didn't start doing anything. Although you've seen the growth in it, right? The growth's been amazing. And I thank you all very much for coming over. We started doing some stuff like a year or so ago when it, you know, and we had massive growth. I mean, our QR code that we put out for you guys to scan got scanned like 27,000 times. I was blown away by it. But yeah, look, these things exist. But sometimes you can have a promise that equally, by the way, what helped me in the negotiations is the promises I had that were made to me verbally, where I proved they'd been delivered. What the parent company of Snack Media were told is if you were taken to court, they're likely to win. So this is why when people say verbal agreements mean nothing, I know they're chatting bullshit because I've been through these scenarios myself. Equally, you can have a clause in a contract that in reality doesn't hold up to scrutiny in court. Very different for millionaire footballers though, because if I was a millionaire, I wouldn't have had as much of a leg to stand on. I've got to make content, otherwise I can't feed my kids. What, with £10 million in the bank? You can wait a year. You've always got, nothing's as simple as you think. There's always caveats to these things. But look, I think Liverpool get this deal done personally. We're going to take your calls on this. We're going to share the link in the live chat with you right now. So if you want to call in and have your say, please feel free to. There are some other stories, though, that I want to speak on today. And actually, this one to me is massive. I want to see Spurs go and get Xavi Simons. Not because I want Spurs to get better. I don't want anyone to get better, but I want Spurs to go and do this. I saw this link and I was like, yeah, go on, Spurs. And I'm just purely speaking about my old man. It's just speaking about my dad. He's been through pain this summer. Although they've started the season brilliantly, he's been through pain. They keep missing out on players. They keep getting rejected. I just want Spurs to go and get it. One, it's a very good player. It would also be a nice feather in the cap against a rival of theirs in Chelsea. But I think what's really interesting when it comes, Xavi Simons, I think, is a very talented player. I think that RB Leipzig are going through a really bad period at the moment. So much great growth in the last decade or so, but I think they're going through a really bad period at this particular moment in time that they really just need that. I wouldn't even use the word reset. It's just not a great place to be playing football at the moment. And I think a lot of talented players that are there will look better when they leave. I think Šeško will score more goals for Man United. And although we're not playing very well at the minute and things ain't been great in the first two games, if you just look at the underlying numbers, if you look at the games objectively, you'll see that there'll be opportunities for him. He just needs to start some bloody matches, and that is on the manager. But I also think Xavi Simons, if he is to leave, will improve as well. And I thought that Chelsea would be a very good destination for him. But actually, Tottenham could be even better with the way they're playing, with the way they're operating under Thomas Frank. I think he would be an amazing string to their bow. I really, really do. And that's also coupled with the news that came out yesterday, which I thought was very, very interesting indeed. Now, we've all seen the Fabrizio Romano update this morning, and I'm just going to go to it now if I can find it on my screen. And that is, it came late last night, actually, that Alejandro Garnacho and Chelsea, the deal remains very advanced with all parties expecting it to happen. And obviously, again, this has led to a lot of... I do get a little bit frustrated at the people that call out Fabrizio. Oh, only give us an update when there's an update. You mute him then. What Fabrizio is doing is the right thing, right? Whether you want to call him a content creator or a journalist, it doesn't really matter. He has fans and he has followers. And I learned this, and it's a message for every up-and-coming YouTuber, content creator, broadcaster. Listen to the majority, not the minority. And I know there are people that don't like the updates from Fabrizio where they're so regular. Oh, just update us when there's something new. But do you realize how many DMs and messages he gets a day? I'm going to hazard a guess. He'll get 20 times more messages asking for the updates, whether it's a minute update or just a reiteration of the same thing. He'll get 20 times more of that than please don't update until you've got something new. And he's responding to the majority of his viewers that like what he does. His viewers, his listeners, his followers. And I went for a period of doing this where I started being a little bit influenced by the people that didn't like what I did. And then I started to realize, hang on a minute, a video that I did, people don't like, I got 30 dislikes on the video. I got like 20 or 30 comments that were quite derogatory. But you know what? The video had 35,000 views, 1,500 likes, and actually had 200 comments that were really positive. Yes, there is stock in listening to criticism, and you should do it. But who is that criticism coming from? People that consistently criticize you only? Or is it from people that support you, like what you do, and then every now and then throw in some criticism? And I realized that don't listen to your detractors by and large. Listen to your followers. Listen to the people that watch you regularly. And if you get 35,000 people watch your shows, like when people say, "Well, Terry, the way you do transfer content, I don't like it, man. I don't like it. I find it wrong or misleading. And I'm okay, you're allowed to think that. But then I look at it this way. We grow, the subscribers grow, the average view time grows, and the vast majority of comments, people are positive because they understand how we do it. We report based on the claims being made in the media. We give our opinions on it and give you the chance to. I'm never changing it. I don't care if some people hate it. I like doing it that way. We grow that way. The vast majority of my viewers are fine with it being that way. And my message is the same to Fabrizio. And I'm not, by the way, he ain't going to listen to me because he doesn't really know who I am. And he certainly isn't going to listen to the idiots out there going to only update us when it's something new. I mean, he can do what he wants. And he's responding to the majority of his millions of viewers that want constant updates. If you don't like the way Fabrizio does things, just block or mute and you won't see it and it won't bother you. Stop trying to make people change who and what they are. Why don't you just exit yourself from that situation? It's like when people go to comedy clubs and moan about the jokes. Well, just don't go to a comedy. You go into a comedy club and don't expect to be offended. And just because you're offended, it doesn't make you right. It's a joke. Don't go. Don't go. It's even worse. It's even worse when people go, I don't even follow the person. Well, what the fuck are you moaning about then, son? Jog on, boy. That's the same for me. So yeah, I just wanted to say that quickly. But look, the Alejandro Garnacho situation. Look, for me, I think that deal's going to go through. But what's interesting about it, aside from the update from Fabs, is the news that came out yesterday. I thought was very intriguing indeed, and that was that Chelsea, first of all, Jacob Steinberg, said that Chelsea are now willing to offer 35 million fixed, but Man United is still demanding the 50. He says Chelsea could go to 40 million, including add-ons, which they hope will get the deal done. I read that story, and that for me is where I've always felt this deal was going to end up, because a deal would be done. It can't be a deal if Man United get 50. That means Man United win. It can't be a deal if Man United accepted 25 million, because that means Chelsea win. It's a deal when you meet somewhere in the middle. And I think 35 million with 5 million add-ons. I would like Man United to put a sell-on clause in that if we could as well. That's me being greedy. But it was an additional report yesterday as well, which I think is positive for Man United. It's just whether or not we can get the deal done in time. And that came out, that was shared by CFC Pies, who said, let me find his actual post because I'll make sure I'm actually reading it correctly. He said, please let me find it. Where you gone? Where's the update gone? It basically said, and I'm going to paraphrase it here, that Xavi Simons is still a player that they want, but Garnacho is the priority because one, Nkunku's got to go before they can bring someone into that area. And bringing in someone else for the left-hand side of the attack is a bigger priority than a 10. And I do understand that because they have players that can operate in that 10 role already that are of a higher standard. Like Palmer can go in there and play rather than the right-hand side, where at the moment, Gittins has looked a little bit off the pace in the first couple of games. They're trying to get rid of Jackson. They're trying to get rid of Nkunku. They're trying to get rid of those players that can go on the left, but weren't particularly great there. So I think that's positive news for Manchester United that could be sort of the direction of, that could be the direction of travel in this situation. So I'm positive it can get done. The issue for me as a Man United fan is how long is this going to take? Because we still need to go out and get a midfielder, and we still need to go out and get a goalkeeper. And there have been a few reports today from Sky, and there have been a few reports today from a few other outlets that Man United still might not bring a goalkeeper in, and the Lammens deal has hit problems. I don't necessarily believe that, if I'm being honest with you. I think that, love it or like reporting negatively about Manchester United is almost like a sexual thing now for some journalists. They go, I'm going to put something out negative. I'm going to see the Man United fans lose their mind, and they're going to go into their bedroom. They're going to reach under the bed. They're going to pull out the crusty sock. They're going to open it up. I imagine it's not particularly grand. So they're going to slowly slide it down, and then they're going to, bash one. That's what I think they're going to do with it. And United fans are angry at the minute because we drew with Fulham at the weekend and we lost to Arsenal. And of course, we had a bad season last year. So they know Man United fans are sensitive. They know Manchester United fans are frustrated. They know Manchester United fans are emotional right now. They were the other day, my daughter was very emotional. When she gets tired, she gets very emotional. So she can be in a great mood, and we were out in the garden. It was very warm. Oh, by the way, the sunburn's pretty much gone today, isn't it? It's a bit of redness. I just noticed myself. Sunburn's looking a lot better. And we're out in the garden, and she hit this wall. She's like, "Daddy, can you help me get out of the pool?" And I'm not one. I do stuff for my kids, but I don't like my kids to be late. I'm like, "Get you out of the pool." I just cut my arms. I put her out. Took her out. She got one of these towels put over her head, and she went and sat on the she went and sat on like a sun lounger. And I could tell she was knackered, right? So I started to tease her a little bit, just tease her a little bit. And I just sort of, when she tries to talk, I just go, stupid, just so, and she hates it. And then I see her lip go. Her lip started going. She's gonna cry. She's getting frustrated, and then she screamed at me, "Dad!" And this is like a moment, like a rite of passage for a dad when their daughter screams, "I hate you." And I laughed so loud because I was like, been waiting for you to say that to me, because I'm not emotional. I understand it's just kids being kids. I went over and gave her a hug and a kiss, and I was like, "You're all right." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm just so tired, Daddy." And I said, "It's okay. We'll make some dinner." And but what it made me, when I was making her a dinner, I was thinking about it. She's just like Man United fans, just overreacting to things because they're tired, because they're jaded. And it was really quite funny. But yeah, I think, no, Mama Fossey, I have made it. Like, getting your kids to say that to you when we're playing. But equally, I expect it to be, there's going to be a serious day where it gets said to me. And one thing I'm hoping pays dividends for me, touching wood, is when I was a kid, I always remember saying, I'm not going to forget what it was like to be a kid when I have children. And I think too many parents do. So for me, when my children do things that I knew I did, I might have to tell them off and keep stern in that moment, but I do often leave the room and laugh or go, "Oh, great, it's happened." And I think you've always got to try and remember what it was like. I think it's helpful. Not that I'm telling anyone else how to parent. I don't really do that. But yes, Man United fans are emotional right now. So we're being suckered into this news. We might not get a goalkeeper now. And look, there's always a possibility it happens. But I think what a lot of these journalists are doing is they are throwing a dart at a dartboard whilst pissed after being spun in a circle with a blindfold on. You might fluke the bullseye, because it's possible, right? You could do it and you could hit the bullseye. But they're just slinging things blindly. They have no idea what is going on. These are the same journalists who kept on telling you, Rasmus is part of the plan. Onana's going to be the number one. What are you talking about? And we all now, Man United fans, that when we were calm, like, hang on, I don't read right, does it? Oh, you're going to get Calvert-Lewin. None of us ever thought that read right. So I'm not being suckered into it now just because I'm emotional, just because I'm frustrated that we're not particularly playing very well. I'm not going to allow myself to be dragged in to that nonsense. United, as far as I'm concerned, are going to sign Lammens. Yes, the pin tweet has gone from Fabrizio. It's a little bit sad, but I think we'll get that done. I think what we're trying to do is get some ducks in a row in relation to players going out, and then we'll see that happen. It is frustrating. It is massively frustrating for me that we haven't got it done already, because this would have been a great night for him to have had his debut. It would have been a great time to integrate him and bring him into the team. It's unlikely now that we'll have it done by 12 o'clock on Friday for him to play on Sunday. So whatever happens, whatever new players come in, very likely it's going to be after the international break that we see them in a Manchester United kit. But I'm not being suckered in. I'm not being lured in to the mad noise surrounding it. I'm just not allowing myself to do that personally. Some people will, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to do whatever it is they want to do. People that, can be suckered into it. People can believe it. There you go. It's up to you. But I'm not personally doing that. Let's go to some more of your comments that have come in here. Terry, great show as always, but please stop continually banging on the hit the like and subscribe button to pressure selling at its worst. Oh, Lone Wolf. Make sure, everybody, that you've hit the like button, please. Make sure you are subscribing. Make sure the bell notification button is turned on. This is the hard sell. The hard sell. So thank you. Get it done, please. Mr. Lone Wolf, don't tell me what to do in my own house, please, sir. I wouldn't come to your house when you and your lady wife are trying to perform and tell you what to do. So don't come to mine when I'm performing and tell me what I should do. Right? Hit the like button, people. Get it shared. Get it in your group chat, especially you, Lone Wolf. Get it done, my old China plate. Get it done. I might even leave that up on the screen now while I'm talking for a bit. Get it done. Get it done. Oh no, someone just we had a like disappear. A like went away. Oh, lone wolf unliked. Lone wolf. That's what they always say, don't they? Oh, it's a lone wolf. Oh no, I'm only messing, my friend. I know you don't like it, but I'm just gonna get on with my life. If Salah wanted to leave, I'd say buy. Who's next? Same with VVD. I'm a Liverpool fan, not a player fan. That's the difference. Not all Liverpool fans would agree with you. I think the summer toss the stats, cop father. Not complaining in my lifetime. This has to be one of the best windows I've ever had. Listen, I've come across a few gooners in the last few days that are not that happy with the summer. And I'm like, nah, you man are fucking ill. Gotta say it. Ill. Or liars. But I suppose if you're someone that is constantly lying about how you actually feel, you could probably clarify that as an illness as well. It's mad. And I do think it's at least an addiction. They say, and I mean like an addiction. I think it's an addiction to saying things that gets a certain reaction. It has to be. You cannot be an Arsenal fan and not happy with this window. The fact that you're going to go into the last 2 or 3 days of the window and there's going to be no news about your club because you've done it all. And you might not all love every single player you've signed, but again, are we going to start advocating for a world where I'm only going to be happy when everything happens exactly how I want it to? You sound like, what was her name? Veruca Salt? What was her bloody name in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the proper one, not the recent one, like the one from 19 whatever, right? No. I want the one from the 1971 film, the proper film. No disrespect to anyone else. What was her name? Veruca Salt. That's the one. You're going to end up like Veruca Salt. You're Veruca Salt, basically. I want it now. You know, go watch the film. If you don't know who Veruca Salt is, go watch it. That's what you are. And again, grown-ups behaving like a child. You could argue it's an illness. And it's a bit weird, but you guys should be very, very happy with your window indeed. Do you think Man United sign a midfielder in the next 5 days? Doubt it. I'm not confident. I'm really not confident because there's zero news surrounding it. There is nothing. So I can't sit here and go, I think we've got something brewing. There's no grounds for me to say that's happening. Zero. I'm hopeful. We just see a big update from a Fabrizio, Jacobs, and Ornstein that says, Man United launched £120 million bid for Baliba, or Man United send £80 million to Palace for Wharton. I'm hopeful, genuinely hopeful, but I've seen nothing. There's no links anywhere at all. Not anywhere at all. What does it say here? I don't care how old I want it now. I don't care how I want it now. Yeah, I mean, it's literally that's literally her line, isn't it? That's standard FC. I don't care. I don't care how old. I just want it now. It's true. I do think as well what Standard FC have done is I don't believe them. I do think it's performative. I think it's pantomime. But in essence, they have influenced people. There are people that are not part of the content creating community, but they believe in Standard FC and they just say things that hold no. And we had a massive debate on our show yesterday, and I sat there and I got called out by some of you. Terry, why are you not interjecting? Why you let everyone debate? And I was like, because you're missing something. We're ending another debate by what's being said in this debate. And Aaron, who I've got time and respect for, he comes on the shows. Of course I respect him. But I've been on shows with him and I've watched him on shows where he spoke about trophies. Once you're winning trophies, that's all that matters. But yesterday he's attacking Chelsea for not being good enough to win the league. But they've just won 2 trophies. One of them is the World Club Cup. And by the way, I agree with him that isn't enough when you've spent that amount of money. They've got to be challenging for league titles now as well. But it was like, but I thought trophies were everything. And I saw people in the comments that always say when it's Arsenal, it's just trophies or nothing. But when it comes to Chelsea yesterday, they were saying, no, you guys have got to be challenging. It's a waste of money. But I thought trophies were everything. And it was just this beautiful moment where sometimes you don't need to challenge. You can just let people keep talking. And it wasn't even what Aaron was saying. It was the audience. And I'm sitting there looking at this, and I'm like, you're all just undoing an 18-month argument you've been having with me, that trophies are the be-all and the end-all, irrespective of context. Contextually, it's better to be in the Conference League than in the Champions League and win it than in the Champions League and not. Even though generally when you're in the Champions League every year, you're a team that's much better than a team that's in the Conference League. But the Conference League trophy was better than being good enough to be in the Champions League. Yesterday, that got flipped on its head because people aren't happy that Chelsea can't compete for the league title yet because they're buying Garnacho. I'm like, hang on, but I thought trophies were all that matter. And by the way, it's a balance. Yes, they matter. But being competitive every year in your league and being able to win your league, I've always felt is the standard you should be aiming for. You can't always win it. And all these Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, United fans are like, unless I'm winning the league, I'm fuming. I call bullshit on that, especially when they're my age and older, because I grew up when our teams were always competing for it, not always winning it, and nobody was losing their shit every year. It was, I'm behind my team, next year we go again. Literally, these same people said it. There's even content from 8 years ago of those same people saying it. So it's very performative for me. Doesn't mean I don't hold that. That doesn't mean there are not some truths in what are being said. Of course, trophies matter. Of course, if Arteta wins nothing this year, he should be heavily criticised. The same as if Maresca wins nothing this year, doesn't perform and doesn't improve for Chelsea, he should be criticised. Just winning a trophy last year doesn't mean you shouldn't face criticism. Pep's the greatest manager of this generation. If he wins no trophies again this year, doesn't challenge to the league again this year, forget walking, there is a genuine debate whether or not they should move on from him. But equally, that banal view that trophies are all that matter, no context required, I think is bullshit. And we know that because if Arsenal come 8th this year but win the League Cup, that ain't enough. And everyone knows that isn't going to be enough. And it shouldn't be enough with what you've spent and how good your team is. So, yeah, that's just my view. But sometimes just let people speak. Let comments come in. You don't have to challenge everything to make a point. I think I've said all I need to say there. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Sorry, Lone Wolf. My old Lone Wolf. Or the way you're getting Lone Wolf, though, the way you're getting triggered over me asking people to hit the like button, more like a lowly Yorkshire Terrier, I would say. Would a wolf be bothered by the sheep hitting the like button? I don't know, would he? No, mate. Right, KJ's joining me. We've got Rob joining me. If you guys want to phone in, the link is in our group chats. If you're in our group chat, the link's also been put into the live comment section for you as well. Good morning, KJ. How are you? You're on mute, you amateur.
Come with me and you'll see a world of pure agitation. Agitation, bro. I'm agitated, bro. This club is agitated me, man. And I'm just frustrated with how things are developing with Man United and Mainoo. It makes no sense to me personally. It makes no sense to me personally that we're in this situation. And people will say, oh, but you can't be player FC. If a player is not fit for the club, then you just got to let him go. But this is not a player FC thing, because if Cubby left, I wouldn't be one of those guys screaming and shouting, look what Cubby's doing, we should never sold him, because I haven't done that with McTominay. I haven't done that with Rashford. I just appreciate them as players, and I'm happy for them to go successful elsewhere, because that is just life. So if he left, I wouldn't just keep banging on and on about it. What I will bang on about, and which is my main point where I stand with this, is the ethos of the club needs to stay intact. The ethos of the club needs to stay there. I know as Manchester United, who has failed for 13 years, there needs to be change. And I'm open to change. I'm open to things changing, like the structure, the training facilities, our processes, how we select players, how we scout, how we develop. All those things can change. But I still think it's important for clubs to have an ethos that they stand by and they live with. And our motto for Manchester United is youth, courage, success. And we are not embodying that. And we haven't embodied that for a while. We've been slowly losing each part of that motto. And right now we're down just to youth. And if we sell someone like Kobbie Mainoo, we are just taking away our old motto, because we barely have any success. We have no courage on the pitch, and then you'll be taking away something that we're proud of, which is our best academy talents get come through, develop, and play football. We are not Chelsea. Chelsea, they use their academy for money laundering. They use their academy to make, you know what I mean? They use academy to bring up the money up. And I'm not disrespecting that. I think that's very clever. I think Man United as a whole, we could improve that part of our operations, right? But we should not be looking at someone like Kobbie Mainoo and being, because this manager doesn't think he fits into this system, then he just has to go. I don't think that's right. I really don't think that's right. And but here's the thing, Terry. I don't think he goes in this summer. I don't think he goes in the next couple of days left of the window. I don't think that's happening. But after this window, we'll have 6 months until January, or even less than that, to see what's going on.
I feel, listen, I sorry, I was going to say, look, I don't like the idea of our youth being sold if they're good enough for the first team. Again, we have to be very careful when we say this, because how do I word this in the right way? We need to be mindful, because the Garnacho situation and the Rashford situation, I think, are very, very different.
Yeah,
I rate Kobbie Mainoo very highly, and I want to see him given a chance. I would be devastated if we sold him. I've actually got a guy that put a tweet out back in March 2024 where he said that Mainoo adding his name to an ever-extensive list of average Man United footballers fast-tracked into the England team. And he's now quote tweeted me back saying, like, oh, I'm coming back to this. Well, look, this guy was one of our best players at the Euros in 2024, and I'm not going to suddenly forget that because he's struggling right now. Young players go through peaks and troughs in their career. I want to see the club back him. I want to see the club give him more time to refine his form. I will be fair and say that I don't think he was very good last season. That being said, we changed ownership. We should have changed managers earlier. We didn't. We changed managers, systems, style, ethos that he's never played before, because our academy still isn't playing the way the new manager is. The club's process is to build the first team to play a certain way, and then they're going to integrate it into the academy spaces. So he's had to learn a new way of playing. And I think one of the reasons why the Rashfords of this world struggled for development is LVG, Jose, Ollie, Ten Hag, then it was Ralph. In sort of 6, 7, 8 years of his life, the man's being told to play 4, 5, 6 different styles, and it was different projects and different ways of operating as a club. And it isn't just a new manager, a new voice. It's every fundamental facet of the club changed every time we change a manager, and we're going in all these new directions. So that's where I'm sympathetic with Mainoo. The other side, though, and I think we need to be consistent, is these leaks about him being open to leaving, considering leaving, not happy with the game time. That is coming from Mainoo's camp. And this is where Man United fans have got to be, this whole summer, I would say the summer window of 2025 has all been fans bleating on about integrity, ethics, and morals. Well, if we're going to be integral, have ethics and morals, we all slammed Rashford for the leaks. We all slammed Garnacho's brother for the leaks. I am not happy that Mainoo has missed the first 2 games and him and his camp are telling the media that he's open to leaving. Man United will not be doing that, because we would do nothing. We are not going to do something to weaken the sale value of a player if we're considering him going. We are actually saying to the media, we have no intention of selling him. Now, if a giant offer came in, the club might consider it. Fair. But for me, what I want to see from Mainoo, I want him given a chance. I rate him. I think he's one of the best young midfield players in Europe. But I do want to see him fight for his position, as opposed to, I think I'm going to leave. Now, if we get to Christmas, January, and he's barely given a start in Berth, whenever he plays well, he's not given a start the next game, my energy will change. The manager set the stance. He's fighting for a place with Bruno. You have to, if Bruno's playing shit like he has been, and Mainoo's not being given a chance, then my attitude towards Mainoo changes, that he should then start agitating for a move because he's got his own career to think about. But I do think in this instance, unless new information comes out, unless it turns out he's been made promises before that haven't been, maybe he was told by the manager, you're going to feature in the first 2 games and it hasn't happened. But I don't know what I don't know, right? So I can't speculate on that. For me, get your head down, work hard, deliver when you get the opportunity. So I'm really torn on this because I concur with you 100%. I don't want to see us sell a player as good as him. Andy is from our youth academy and it's a massive part of our club. At the same time, I've been slamming players for years that every time they go for a bad period, they run to the press and say they want to move. We all slam Pogba. We all slam Rashford. We all slam Garnacho. We all slam all these individuals that did it. For me, I'm not going to change my tune because, by the way, I liked all those other players as well. Yeah. But I'm talking here like as if it's not me speaking. Some people that would slam Pogba maybe won't slam Mainoo because they like him. The ones who slagged off Rashford, that hated Rashford, they're not going to do it now to make. For me, I think the energy's got to be the same in every direction, personally.
Yeah. Let me counter that a little bit. If you remember back in Jan, the club started to say stuff about Garnacho and Mainoo, saying that we're open to selling. We don't want to sell, but we're open to big offers and stuff. Mainoo didn't come out and say anything. Mainoo was linked to Chelsea, but I don't think that was his camp doing that. That was just like Chelsea being linked to loads of players. Garnacho, that's when Garnacho's stuff started to come out. That's around the time when Garnacho missed the Manchester derby as well because of his attitude and his lack of training. Kobbie Mainoo for that entire time has not said anything. Kobbie Mainoo during that season was used sparingly. And even when he got, 4 minutes in the Europa League final, he still hasn't done what Garnacho's done and come out and say, well, I didn't get played, so we'll see. He's not done that. He has been working hard. He has had his head down. And as much as I don't like him coming out now, especially 2 games into the season, like when there's clearly enough football to be played, there's still enough time for things to change. I agree, it's too early to come out and start saying X, Y, and Z. But if I look at it from his point of view, he's probably sat in this position of working hard, head down, from the moment Amarim's arrived up until now. So you can now argue then it's been, in terms of football playing times, like 4 to 6 months of him working hard, head down, and getting time in preseason, where he played well, and he had no issues, no qualms, to now result in no game time at all. I can understand. I don't like it. He shouldn't do it, but I understand where he's thinking because you just said he has to think about his career. Why does he have to think about his career in 6 months' time and not now?
I understand that, but we've also got to remember as well that he missed 17 games through injury last year. The man missed. He was out for like a big bit of October and November, and then out February, March, and into April. So he missed sort of 3.5, 4 months of the season, like, which is practice when you factor in international breaks. It's like half the season, right? So there's also that element where he missed a lot of last season with injuries as well. And this is where I've got to keep it. A lot of us were talking last season, his biggest fans, that, Ten Hag was running him into the ground and fucking up his hamstrings and everything else. So there's all that to factor in too. And listen, I don't disagree with a lot of what you've said. I'm just in this situation where I don't want players pushing these things out publicly at this point. But I do understand he wants to play football. The way I look at it is this: I want him to stay. I want him to start over. I want him to start. It'll start tonight. Yeah. This is what I will say. He's got to be brilliant. I think one thing when you make, whether you're right or wrong to make a noise.
Yeah.
When you make a noise, you can't do what Trent's done, where it's now been reported in Spain that Trent's now on the bench for Dani Carvajal, now he's fit. You can't make a move that way. The fanfare, the noise, the attention, and then you go to a club and it's like, whether it's performances or someone else pushes you out. Isak can't do what he's doing, get to Liverpool and then score 8 goals this season and be bad. Or be benched for Ekitike. It's a bad look, right? You can't do that. Yeah. So Mainoo tonight, he has got to be the best player on the pitch. He has got to look amazing. Hopefully, and again, this is my view. Say he kills it. We're at home against Burnley. I'm like, well, boss, give him a chance. If the boss gives him a chance, whether he starts, whether he comes on for 30 minutes, you've got to be really good. You can't come on and we go, Kobbie was there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And by the way, that isn't defending Bruno, because Bruno doesn't deserve to play or start against Burnley for me. I won't change my mind on it. But for me, we've done this a lot in the last 12, 13 years where we've gone, Van der Beek, give him a start. Bruno's been bad the last 2 games. Every time Van der Beek came in, we went, oh, fucking hell. So Cobby's got to be good now. You can't have all this support from fans, which is it's absolutely fine. People are backing him because they want the academy players to do well. I get that. But you've also got to deliver. You've got to be a game changer. We've seen, for instance, Cunha. I know he hasn't scored, but his general play in the first 2 games, you've seen he's had an influence on the football match as an example. We need him to go and look like Yoro looks, but in his own position. And I want that, not because, and he has got to prove it. He has got to prove himself, but every player's got to prove themselves. And this is where the conversation becomes hard for me, because I'm not defending Bruno. I want him out. The issue with, and I want Mainoo to get a run of games. The issue is if they're both playing bad. If they both play badly, some might say it's the system, right? That's where it becomes interesting, because if Cobby's bad, people are going to blame the system. If Bruno's bad, it's because he's shit. And that's where all these conversations, that's where they become a toxic conversation. How many years did we have this? It ain't the system, Terry. It's McTominay that's crap. Oh, why did Pogba look bad today? Because the system ain't right for Pogba. But it's not for, this is the issue. Man United fans are too often in these conversations not fair. None of us are right about everything. It's impossible to make that claim. And we've all got different views and opinions, but people are going to pick and choose. You know, the system is bad for the players they rate. The players are bad for the system when they don't like a player. And I just think there needs to be a consistency from us discussing this as well. But look, he's going to start tonight. Well, I hope he starts tonight. We're going to bring Rob and Kane on to have a chat with us about today's stories as well. Viewers, make sure you've hit the like button if you haven't done so already, and make sure you are all subscribing to the channel as well. We've got Rob and Kane joining us here. Morning, gentlemen. Kane, I'm going to come to you first because I've got a bone to pick with you, a big bone to pick with you.
Big one. Okay.
Why do you continue to bid for a player whose club says he's not for sale?
Well, I believe because a club says a player's not for sale, that there is still a number that he is for sale, right? I'll flip it back to you, I guess.
Absolutely. I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing with it. I'm just, and by the way, you haven't actually called out Liverpool this year for doing it. You're not one of those deranged football fans. But Larsen has supposedly agreed to join Newcastle, wants to join Newcastle, isn't striking, isn't refusing to play. Actually scored a brace last night. Looked very good. I forgot what it's like to have a striker that can score with their head. But would you be happy with this deal? Would you be happy with Larsen coming in?
Yeah. I mean, even at the price point, I think 60 million. Yeah, it might be a bit steep considering he just joined Wolves for 23 at the beginning of the window. But listen, 14 goals last season in a Wolves side that finished towards the bottom of the table, and already scoring the goals now for them against Premier League opposition. So absolutely, great talent. I think he's only 25 as well, so the age plays into it as well a little bit with him as well. But yeah, good signing, very solid signing. Would fit straight into Eddie's system and should do the business for us if he comes.
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, look, 14 goals last year in a Wolves team. Again, I think you're not going to get a player as good as Isak. I just think because there aren't any that are available. But I think with him and Wissa, I do actually think you've got a better strike force with those two than you did with Callum Wilson and Isak. I think as a combination, you get more goals.
Yeah. I mean, we're literally talking about a player who many describe as the third, if not second best striker in the world. Some might say he's the second or best striker in the league. So any player coming in is obviously going to be a downgrade. But you're right. I think Newcastle are going to try and replace him in the aggregate. We'll see how Wissa goes. I think Newcastle might wait for the price to come back down, because I think it was originally, because the goalpost I feel has changed a little bit. I mean, depending if you listen to all of the reporting, I think even Ben Jacobs was saying before it was like 25 was the gentleman's agreement, then it was okay, no, they want 40-50, and then I think after Brentford lost to, I want to say Bournemouth, Forest, sorry, the first game of the season, it was 3-1, and then immediately after that weekend the price shot up to 60. So I feel like that might have been Brentford reacting to those, but since then they've gone and beat, I think they went and beat Bournemouth, I think 2-0 over the weekend, and then they beat who did they beat in the cup. I think they just knocked someone out of the cup as well. I could be wrong with the teams, but they've picked up the results so far. So who knows? Maybe the stance softens and the price comes down, and then we get that going. Because I think 60 mil for a 29-year-old with 1 year left on his deal is, even as good as Wisser is probably not value for money, which we still need to remember. We have
get
to
it
do that as
paid.
well.
Stop lowballing. Get it paid. Get your money up. That's been the message, isn't it? You know what I mean?
That's true,
I haven't seen any of those kind of messages from Craig No Hope and
that's true.
Edward and man like Keith. They've all just been like, oh no, guys, we're negotiating. Terrible journalists, those two. But no, I hear you. Listen, I think really good bits of business. If you can get it done, it would have just made more sense to have got it. Just maybe not pay the price, but get it done earlier, because I think you win your opening 2 Premier League games with Wisser and Larsen in your team.
I do have a question. I do have a question for you though, because I know how you were saying earlier, Newcastle had a terrible window. If, say, we had, which we have, by the way, but let's say we do get Wisser and Strand Larsen and then sell Isak, does that change the optics of Newcastle's window? Because then
I mean, you bought the players. I think that, look, them not having a pre-season with you, not starting the season with you, still makes it poorer, if that's the right way of looking at it. Like Man United landed. Yes, I mean, look, if Belieber and Lammens join and they're instant hit, then it's still a good summer. But with both our clubs have still dropped 5 points in the opening 2 games, which you can't get back. And I think that if our businesses was done, if we had more business done earlier, there is a genuine possibility. Like Man United wouldn't have lost to Arsenal with a better goalkeeper. We at least draw if we don't score goals. We pin them back. They didn't really offer too much in that game. People say that's hindsight. Well, that's what reviewing football matches is, isn't it? It's hindsight. You can't not review something without hindsight, because that's life. But look, I wouldn't say it would be a better window, but I think execution and getting people in early. Like, imagine Liverpool were still looking for Ekitike now. I mean, Liverpool have not been great in the opening 2 games, but I know they scored 4 goals in the last couple of matches. But Ekitike's 3 goals in their opening 3 games. Imagine they had no striker. There is a genuine possibility that they're not on 6 points right now, but they got those early deals done, which have helped. They're still just, and by the way, they're still not perfect this summer, because they need another centre-back. And I know they brought in the young man, Leone, but he ain't ready to play. He's been the main centre-back target, and that isn't done yet. So no one has a perfect summer. I think you've also got to look at the way a club is kind of dragged through the mud. I think the optics of it and the saga also adds to it. But I think player-wise, you bought some very good players. That I wouldn't disagree with.
I disagree with you slightly, though. I think Arsenal have probably had the perfect window.
Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal's is very good, unless you're looking at the personnel, because some people go, we could have got better than Madueke, or we could have got better than some Arsenal fans.
And to be fair, sales as well. Sales going into it, they haven't sold well enough yet.
They've not had to. That's the thing.
But in terms of improving their squad, but this is what I would say when people go on about sales. As much as I think Arsenal and Man United should make better sales, it's not what's required at our clubs to generate the revenue to spend what we spend. Sure. And that's because you look at like Chelsea as an example, and their revenues are going to start flying up. But you actually look at City, where everyone's going, oh, look, they're getting £700-800 million a year, like turnover now. Well, that's because in the last, barring this summer, if you go back the previous 3 years, they're generating 150 odd million pound every year in sales of players. So when suddenly they go from earning the same as Man United, less than Man United, to earning the same, if not a little bit more, a big percentage of that is player sales. I want us to add that to our bow. I want us to become better sellers, because then it's even more money. But it's not sometimes part of every club's wheelhouse. But no, Arsenal summer's been good. Rob, what are you here to say today, mate?
I was just going to agree with what KJ said when he first joined about Manchester United and the Mainoo situation. Yesterday, I was trying to articulate it in like a message or two in the chat, like how it just didn't feel very Manchester United, and you basically explained what I was trying to, like, how I felt about from an outsider looking in, and I just wondered what your guys' thoughts were on, in hindsight now. Do you think that keeping Bruno, like when you had that potential offer of 100 million, would that put you in better stead? Would Mainoo have potentially been in these games instead of Bruno? Because like I remember obviously Mainoo, before he got his injuries and had a bad season last year, he was, he won you an FA Cup, played really well in that. He played really well in the Euros. And people were saying, like, we should be building around this guy. And then we're a season and a half later, he's not even getting in the team. And I feel like that's a bit, maybe that's also a little bit a question mark around Amorim not wanting to like even attempt to try and get him in the team with Bruno, if that's the issue. Like, is that something you guys are concerned about around like Amorim maybe not?
I'll go back to what I was saying when the offer came in for Bruno. If we're keeping Bruno to play him as a 10, I could understand why, because as good as I think Mbeumo and as good as I think Cunha are, they don't pass and create in the same way Bruno does. So if we were looking at it where we're going to go right, and look, maybe when Šeško starts, we see something different. Maybe Šeško starts some games and we go, we're actually going to have Mbeumo on the bench and Bruno starts in the 10 and Kobbie's in the midfield. And maybe we start to see that more and we go, oh, okay, didn't see that one coming. And maybe it all makes a little bit more sense. But what doesn't make sense to me, and I agree, it doesn't make sense to keep Bruno. And essentially, he decided, if we'd have pushed, he might have gone. You turned down £100 million, which could have given us the money to buy a Belieber-esque player, just for you to play Bruno out of position, and one of the most talented central midfielders in the world, young midfielders in the world, can't get in the team. That, for me, is a mistake that could undo all the other things that are working and doing well. Because I don't think defensively we've been overly bad this year. I don't even think we haven't not. Listen, the facts are there to back what I'm about to say. I don't care about anyone's opinion on this until you bring me a fact that undoes what I'm about to say. Your opinion is worthless. We have worked the ball into the opponent's box, the second most amount in the league. We've created goal-scoring opportunities in the top 5, top 6 in the league. We're in the top 3 in the league for most amount of shots on target in this game. What has let us down is we have the worst conversion rate in the league. That would change the results. The irony is the results would change how people review the system and the performances. And I think there is a fundamental flaw in that. You can look at how we're playing, see we're missing the chances, and go, well, that's about players finishing. Equally, we know there's a problem in the midfield. Bruno, when he presses, we don't have the legs behind him to recover. That's also why, though, I don't actually think system-wise we get that much better with Mainoo, because Mainoo isn't a believer. So if Mainoo presses like Bruno, we're still going to have that hole. If he sits and is more disciplined, it will probably improve us. We need to see that. It's one of those things for me. It's whether or not he can be more disciplined in that position. I think and hope that he does. But it's definitely a mistake. It is definitely a mistake to keep Bruno, refuse 100 million that we could use to improve the squad, and then play him out of position. That, for me, feels like a mistake. And then Mainoo's not getting game time.
Yeah.
That, for me, could undo every other thing that I think is starting to take shape, because that's also what's adding fuel to the fire of not winning these first 2 games. Because if Mainoo had played in these games and Bruno was on the bench, I do think you'd see a different reaction from Man United fans online.
And then also, you got to think as well, it's already coming out that Bruno's thinking about leaving next summer anyway.
Yeah.
So it's one of those ones where it's like, the guy, as much, hey, listen, he's done amazing things for us and we appreciate him, but he also knows it's coming to an end. So do Man United take the initiative and be like, right, we will help you with that decision. It's over. We get 100 million and we move forward as a club. Or do you gamble on the fact that he's your captain, he's your best player, you back him to do well, and you make the manager make it work? And I feel like as a club, we've allowed, this is going to sound strange maybe, we've allowed too much to be on the manager's shoulders to make it work. In terms of, yes, that's his job, but normally I think as a club, you want to make his job the easiest as possible. So you give him the best players, you give him the best training facilities, you give him the best things to make his job easier. We've also, as a club, piled more pressure on Amorim by not supplying the midfielders he needs, by not potentially even going against his will. He would want to keep Bruno, but maybe we say, look, mate, we see where this is going. Bruno is declining. You want him to use him in midfield. He ain't a midfielder. You don't want to use him in a 10 because he doesn't do the things that your 10s do. We're going to get him gone, but we will give you Belieber. You have Mainoo there. You have Mount there. You have Cunha there. You have all these players there. We'll give you an environment where, yes, you may have not got something you wanted in Bruno leaving, but you give you something like Belieber, and you can now make that work, your system work a lot better and easier because you have those tools. It's a difficult decision that Man United made.
It is, and we alluded to this earlier. And look, I have to preface this because there are scumbags that will clip you up and then try and call you names online. I rate Mainoo. I think Mainoo's brilliant. I think Mainoo, given the game time, can prove himself to be one of the best players in the league. And he has to prove himself to be the best player in the league, one of the best in the league. Like all players have to prove themselves. Let's play devil's advocate, though. Let's play devil's advocate. What will the reaction be from the Man United fans saying we will be better with Mainoo than Bruno if Mainoo comes in, gets 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, and we don't get better in terms of the midfield? So this is the midfield still had holes. The midfield can still be played through. Is it then the system or is it the player? And this is where Man United fans will need to be intellectually honest, because I get the feeling that if Mainoo right now, what you're hearing is system shit, change it. Bruno shit, sell him. If Mainoo comes in and we're better, then it proves the system works, right? And yet all the criticism of the manager's system was flawed. If Mainoo comes in and is bad, and the system and therefore the holes in the system are there because the player isn't performing, again, I think if you love Mainoo, it will be player's brilliant. It must be the system that's letting him down. And I think that for me is where I'm asking that question from a devil's advocate perspective, because that's my fear and worry, that if Mainoo comes in and we still look bad? Yeah. Is that the fact we've backed the wrong manager? We're backing the wrong system? Is it actually because none of our midfielders are suited to how we're meant to play, because they just don't have the legs to be in a 2-man midfield to cover the holes that are needed in the game? And that's when I don't look at the manager anymore. I look at the people running the club, because forget what I think and what us four think for a moment. We're not internal. That's where they have to make a decision. Do we then sell the Brunos and the Mainoos, who would work brilliantly in threes or brilliantly in 4-2-3-1s, and we know they have done? Or so do we keep them and get rid of the manager and go back to that formation? But by then, by the way, we've been buying centre backs that prefer a 3, full backs that prefer playing wing back, and we've got rid of all our left-handed sided wingers, right? So then you create another problem, which is we're starting again, which is fine, but the owners have either got to make that decision or go, do you know what? We're fucking off this. We're sticking with the manager and the system. We're going to struggle again this year. We're going to suffer. But next summer, the whole midfield's going, and we're just going to bring in 3 or 4 athletes. That means it will work. That, for me, is more my focus then. If we try all the combinations of midfielders and it isn't working, it's either the system's flawed or the players just can't play it. I don't look at the manager then. I look at the footballing director, the sporting director, and Ineos. What decision are you going to make? Because we've had this debate for 13 years at Man United. We always blame the manager when it's going wrong. Then we sack him and we go, these players now, they've got a new chance, but they've got to deliver. They start playing badly and we go players. Then we turn on the manager and we go through this cycle. And we need to break the cycle this time round. So I understand. Listen, I think Mainoo will make our team better. That's my personal feeling and thought. But I'm also thinking beyond that of, well, what if he comes in and there's not much fucking improvement? Where do we go from there? Like, that's more... Go on.
I just want to challenge something you said there about... You said like we've bought centre backs that prefer 3, and we've got wing backs we got full backs that prefer wing back. That's not the only thing you said, and then also said we've got low left wingers now, and that's basically the only thing you said that I think is true is the last thing about being no left wingers. Wilcox, and it's been heavily reported multiple times that Wilcox has been targeting players who can play multiple systems. Dorgu is playing left back when he first joined, before he joined Manchester United. Leniyara was playing a 2 before he joined Man United. Most of our players played in a 2. Most of our centre backs played in a 2 before they joined Man United. We have the full backs to change. We have the centre backs to change. Wilcox targeting players who can play multiple systems isn't a coincidence. I think there's something in that. Like we are he's making it so that we're in a position where if it does go wrong, we can
I agree with that, but it's also the messaging. If you keep changing directions, the players won't buy into what you're doing anymore. You know, if every 6 months I'm telling you, KJ, this is now our focus, this is now what's going to make us. eventually you're going to go, fucking hell, Tell. This was the most important thing. Now this is the most important thing. Now I've got to change this. It does whittle you down. And I think that we need to be very mindful of that. So there's got a few of these super chats here because some of these are really, really good. It says, I believe United don't sign a midfielder. We'll see a similar season to last year. Would you take Rabiot? No, I wouldn't take it. No, I wouldn't. But
attitude.
This was back to my point earlier. It's not isolated to these two games. Now, I understand it's not isolated to these two games, but we've also got to factor in that Mainoo missed a lot of last season with injuries. And I'm not just going to suddenly act like he was just kept on the bench for months. He didn't play. He missed about 17 odd games last year due to injury. We can't ignore that. Mainoo doesn't see a pathway in the manager's plans and systems. Whenever he saw a plan and he signed. This is also true. By the way, he doesn't have to sign a new deal if he doesn't see a way through. Again, I'm not going to say that he has to sign a deal because he's from the academy. I'll keep the energy the same. If you're putting so much emphasis on tonight's game to prove himself and Mainoo has a bad game tonight, then sell him, let him go. But I'm not putting too much. Again, maybe I am putting emphasis on him to perform tonight. But everyone needs to perform. Everyone does. Onana's going to get a chance tonight to prove himself. He has to be really good. And this isn't because it's just tonight's game. Everyone who gets a chance. When I said the same thing to KJ privately yesterday. If Diego Leon has an opportunity tonight, he's got to prove himself. I don't want to see these players tonight take this game easy because it's Grimsby. Cruise through 2-0, boring game. Go out there and make a fucking mark to be in the first team. Because it's not about Mainoo proving himself to us as fans. It's about these players fighting for positions and showing they want it and not just going through the motions. We need that feeling at the club to become a top team again. There has to be a want and a desire to be in the first team. And I want to see Mainoo go out there and dominate tonight. It's Grimsby. I want to see him show his authority, show his quality, show his class. The man that led England to a final in the Euros, that made Spain put a plan in action to stop him because they said, if you stop Mainoo, we stop England. I want him to be that guy tonight. I want him to be that guy against Burnley because then he makes it impossible for himself to be dropped. If it's ambiguous, if it's open to interpretation, if there's he's all right, but it weren't great. I want him to make himself undroppable. So that is what I'm saying. And not just tonight. It's in multiple games. But you can't have your family and your agent speaking to the media and then play Grimsby and not be good. It ain't a good look, my friend. Let's be honest about this. Terry, but we already know Mainoo is not a bad player. I know he isn't. If he looks like shit, he no longer fits Man United's plan. Sell him. No, listen, I also agree. That's also the other side of this, which I think we have to be honest about. If he doesn't fit what we're trying to build, this is again, but where the ownership needs to make the right decision.
Yeah.
If we're building a team that Mainoo just doesn't fit into, that's not about disrespecting the youth. That's just he ain't right for us. The same as all the other academy players that ain't good enough that we let go. But we have to make a decision. Are we going to go in? Are we going out? Right? Are we going to go fully into this project and build the squad and spend the money and buy other young, are these other youngsters that we've gone out and bought, these 15, 16, 17-year-olds, are they built for this system and they're going to be bled through in the next few years or not? We can't sit in a halfway house. Mr. Miyagi said this. If you walk on one side of the road, you're safe. You walk on this side of the road, you're safe. You walk in the middle, you get squashed like a grape. That's Man United. We can't be in the middle of this. I'm not even taking sides here and being objective. We either build a team that works for Amorim and you get rid of every player that can't do it or doesn't want to do it, irrespective of their quality elsewhere, or you don't, and you go in another direction. But whatever direction you go in, you've got to be fully committed to it. We can't be, a bit here and a bit there, and that indecision is why we are where we are at 13 years after Fergie. That is more my focus, actually, than the Mainoo debate, the Garnacho debate, the Rashford debate, the manager debate, because these things are, for me, symptoms of the root cause issue at the club. And as a Man United fan base, these symptoms do need to be discussed, and I discussed them. But I think we've spent far too much time discussing them over the past decade or so than actually looking at what's caused these problems in the first place. That's where our energy should be, in my view.
I think Chelsea's the best example. When Clearlake came in, they came in, had a plan of buy established stars, buy big names, buy those guys, and bring them in and get those to be the forefront of the game of the club. They sacked Tuchel. they sat. Who did they have after that? Did they have Poch?
Mm.
Oh, they had like all these different caretaker. Oh, they had Potter in it. They sat to each other. They had Potter. Didn't work. They then said, "Screw it. We're going for the youth thing, buying all the young talent in the world, and we're going to play a certain style." They bring in Poch. He got into a certain point. Then they brought in Maresca, and now they're happy. But that's because they went fully in on that model that they've got now. We may not like it sometimes because we think it's hoarding, but that's what they're doing. Man United, we're in this spot now, like Terry said. Do we go all in and potentially, especially with this way of playing, for it not to work, maybe? Or do we renege and be like, you know what, actually, let's try and rebuild what we're doing?
Yeah. And that my view on it is this: if we keep changing directions, we have proof. We have empirical evidence, cast iron fact, irrefutable in debate, that changing directions every 6, 12, 18, 24 months has led to where we are. We have the facts of the matter in front of us. We can do that again, but if we expect instant and then consistent results off the back of it, I think we're pissing in the wind. There is the other argument that if we stick to it and it fails, yes, it's still failure, but at least we're trying something different. And that's the one bit I can't get out of my head. I would rather try something different and fail than repeat the same mistake and fail. At least it gives you something different to fucking talk about, maybe. This year says Bruno, Casemiro, and Ugarte should be leaving before Mainoo does. I agree with you in principle, but in reality, no. So, for instance, Bruno's a little different because this bid may come in for him. If no one's bidding for Casemiro and Ugarte, say none of them are wanted. Say the club have said none of them are good enough. Let's just live in that world. Let's all drop our subjectivity. None of them are good enough. They've all got to go. Bruno, you're absolutely right. With 100 million being offered, he should have gone if they don't think he's good enough. But if you're not being offered any money for Casemiro or Ugarte and you've got to raise money to buy players, it would make sense that Mainoo went first because you can reinvest the money made from him. So I do get your point and I agree with it. But from an outside view, that also may be a different way of looking at it. Biggest mistake was buying 3 forwards before a central midfielder.
No, because here's the thing. If we bought 2 forwards and one midfielder and we still weren't scoring, they'll be saying, "Oh, why do we buy a midfielder when we need goals?"
Yeah, I don't think the last 2 results change if Belieber's in our team because we missed the chances. We missed the chances. So no, I don't agree personally. With every decision, remember this is a project. Mainoo will unlock development in midfield. Bruno doesn't give. It might not work straight away. Patience. That's a good point, George. Shouldn't the attitude of every player should be proving themselves every game, not just when they want to get in the team and get a better contract? If it's not, but that's also the other side of it. Again, we have to. Again, it's hard because people always want to try and not have these conversations. But I got burned. I was like, no, Rashford's playing well. He should get the new deal. And then we went, fucking hell. As soon as he got that new deal, his performance level dipped. I'm not saying Mainoo's doing it, but we have to. That is something that shouldn't just leave our minds, that we haven't had multiple players do that for the last 10 years or so. And there is always that possibility. There was always that possibility that that's the reason why there's a standoff right now. Do they feel he's fully committed to the club, or is it about getting the most amount of money possible? I rate him, so I want him to get a new deal. But I also rated Rashford and wanted him to get a new deal. And I wish to God that we'd sold him. Now I look back. So I think, again, if we're going to be intellectually honest and balanced, that's true. However, I think we build this midfield around someone like Mainoo. I think we give him the contract. I think we give him the time. I think he's excellent. I am Player FC. If I want Mainoo over Amorim to stay, am I Player FC?
No. No, I don't think it's necessarily.
I think what Player FC is, it's when you put the interest of a player above your club. So for me, if you think that ostracizing Mainoo, selling him, going down that path is going to damage the club in the long term, I think it's okay to say the club and the manager are making a mistake and you want to change. But if everything's just about what's best for your player and you're not objective about it, if, for instance, Mainoo gets sold, Belieber comes in and we start improving, but all you ever look for is, and we start getting better and better and better and better and better, and all you do is you wait for the day when we lose and you go, man, the manager attacking him, that's when I'd say you are Player FC and it's bad for the club. You know, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion, because I thought Fergie was wrong when he didn't renew Paul Pogba's contract, as an example. Didn't mean I was player FC. You can disagree with decisions your club makes. It's more about the way you behave afterwards.
Yeah, say if Bruno is, this is Bruno because the easiest thing. If say he keeps playing bad, and all you want him to do is like, well, no, it's not Bruno. Like everyone else with him is rubbish, and he has to play every week because it's Bruno. And you know what? If he ever gets dropped, then I'm done with this club, because that's when it's like,
yeah. And you see it a lot. You saw it with Pogba and Bruno. A lot of the Bruno haters were Pogba fanboys, and they hated it because Bruno was getting the plaudits they wanted to see Pogba get. That's where it's problematic. Look, I am about 30 minutes late to an appointment, so I've got to go, people. But I want to thank you all very, very much for tuning in. Thank you all that have liked the stream, have hit the like button, that have super chatted. We are back at 3:30 today for Straight Facts with Hussam and Mo, which I'm very, very much looking forward to. This is going to redirect you to that stream, so go see. We'll see you all there. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you all again soon. Peace.